Sato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Welcome to Pangot and welcome to the classes. We are, as you know, we are starting the Mandukya Upanishad. Those of you who have it, please open the Shanti Mantras. We will be starting from there. Bhadram Karnebhi. But before I start with the Shanti Mantras, I would like to give you an introduction to the Upanishad itself, because I can see some of you are newcomers. And a good introduction to why we are studying the Upanishads here, we can discuss that for some time, and then we go straight into the Mandukya Upanishad, because Mandukya Upanishad is the most important Upanishad, the shortest and the profoundest. And we are starting with the most profound thing. And Upanishads, as you know, that's the essence of the Vedas. The Upanishads are the essence of the Vedic literature. So we are diving into the very essence of the Vedas, you can say, with this Upanishad. So let me tell you what the Upanishad exactly means. Upanishad, Upa plus Ni plus Sad Dhatu. It actually means sitting close to a teacher and understanding the truths of the Vedas, you can say. That is the meaning of Upanishad. Sitting close to a teacher and grasping the truth of the Vedas. Now, why Upanishads are so important? See, Vedic literature is very vast. As you know, you will find the Vedas in this library also. There are 4 Vedas and huge books. And then the Vedas are a kind of mixture of Karma Kand and Jnana Kand, which means the mantras associated with rituals and sacrifices, and the Upanishads, the mantras associated purely with knowledge. These are mixed up in the Vedas. But in the Upanishads, those mantras which have been used for the rituals have been separated from the mantras which we use for this pointed inquiry into the nature of human existence. It has been separated. So that is why the Upanishadic literature is the essence. The rest are the mantras used in rituals, sacrifices for various purposes. So that is called the Karma Kand, that which is to do with work, the work portion. And this is the knowledge portion. Upanishad is the knowledge portion of the Vedas. So the entire Sanatan Dharma, please remember, is based on, finally, on the Upanishads, on the Vedas, and especially on the Upanishads. Everything that you see today in the form of whatever rituals and festivals and whatever you observe in your homes, somewhere it is a condensate of these ideas. And with a lot of admixture of yoga, tantra, all this has happened. But this is the essence. So we are going directly to the source of Hinduism. If we understand this portion, and if it appears very relevant to our everyday life and thinking, and if we are able to apply it that way, you will see that everything else makes sense. Why we are performing a particular ritual, why are we worshipping the gods, what exactly is the idea, why do people perform homa and yajnas and all this, why the Agnihotra ritual, which so many even now perform, why the Gayatri mantra, all this will fall in place. Why do we observe Diwali festivals and all this? It will all fall in place once you understand the spirit of the Upanishads. Otherwise, it appears like Hinduism is a hodgepodge of many things, isn't it? Some things are, well, we don't know what is the history behind it, why we are doing it, still we do it as a custom. So that is why we are going to the very source. And this literature is so profound. You see, a whole lot of Western thinkers and scientists, they have also gone deep into this, and they have said this is the most profound piece of literature in the world. And when was it created? At least 5,000 years back. In fact, Rigved goes back to more than 8,000 years. And because the dates are not like finally fixed, actually Indian we are not good chronologists. So we don't have the exact dates when these were written, but they are the oldest literature available to us, that you can say. And it's so profound, the inquiries are about the human personality structure and the core of the human personality structure. You just imagine this, those rishis in those times, how they thought of this. They were living in the forest. Just imagine the Harappan, if you have read those portions, the Indus Valley civilization, so much before that, and in this Delhi Punjab belt, all this inquiry was taking place in the forests of the Himalayas, right here, these places, and from where we've come. So these were all forested and the hermitages of the rishis and the yajna fires, and this inquiry was going on. When the Americas had not yet been discovered, when Europe was a vast forest, this was happening in this northern belt of India. And this inquiry is so profound and so relevant to our present age. See, today we are bringing this into universities. Can you imagine this? After Nalanda, this never took place. Why we are able to bring this into the university setup and mainstream academia is because it is the science of consciousness that they are talking about. And if it was not that, nobody in today's scientific setup would accept it, isn't it? If it was some hoary literature which doesn't make sense, which is not relevant, which is talking of some ritual, would it make sense today, I'm asking you? But everyone is taking it. IITs are taking it. Okay, that's the cream of India's intelligence. Why are they taking it? Because this is the science of consciousness and there's a technology to it. You can realize these truths even today because your consciousness is the essential part of you, isn't it? If you just ask the question, who am I? Don't think this was the Rishi's question. Today also, how many of us put this question, isn't it? So it is ever relevant, these truths. And the way they are conducting this inquiry and the methods they invented they discovered in order to make this possible, they are very, very relevant even today. This I can tell you. A whole lot of people are using them and it makes human life meaningful. What's the point in knowing everything without knowing yourself? Isn't it? See, this is the whole point. Science is focused on the external world. These subjective sciences are focused on the inner world. If I don't know who I am, what's the point in life, about human life? And it won't make sense in knowing who the other person is, what his thoughts are, it doesn't make sense. If I don't know how I function, there's no point in knowing how this world functions. If I know what's happening on Jupiter and what's happening in other galaxies, but I don't know what's happening in myself, what's the point? So that is why this piece of literature is so important, so profound, so meaningful. There's absolutely no belief system here. Please understand this. There's no belief system. There is no faith which you are expected to have to get this. It is a logical approach of inquiry into the nature of your existence. So there is no mention of a God as we popularly understand him. There is only the mention of the ultimate, you can say, background of this existence, which is consciousness. And that cosmic consciousness is called Brahman in the Upanishads. There is only mention of that. And no mention of the traditional gods or their worship forms, temples. All this came much later in the post-Vedic age. But here it is an inquiry into the nature of my existence. And what is the meaning of this existence and who am I? when I don't identify with anything, what is the nature of my existence? What is the crux of human identity? These are the questions of the Upanishads. So if you have interest in this, if you really want to pursue this, this is the most important piece of literature you have in this world. In fact, thinkers, even Schopenhauer, they all said that this is the most profound piece of literature we have. But you must conduct this inquiry by yourself. Not because it was done by some rishi here, but if you do it yourself, you get the first person perspective. You can't understand these truths in the third person. Are you getting the point? Through somebody's thoughts and somebody's writings, you cannot get this knowledge. You can only get it if it is a first person research within yourself. And if the inquiry has arisen within yourself. So this is what makes the Upanishad very scientific, logical, and you can say it's pan-human. Anybody can pursue this. It's not like, especially in the Hindu religion, or only we can do it, Indians can do. No such thing. Can you say gravity is English? It's not. It's for everybody. It's the universal law of life, isn't it? So also this is a universal law. And no, it's not for a particular people and an ethnic group. Not like that at all. This is the truth about human life. And the inquiry will show you this. This is the way they are penetrating into the nature of human existence. And through that, they understood the nature of this cosmic intelligence, which is responsible for this world of manifestation. So that they call Brahman. And you can say the individualized or localized aspect of that same cosmic consciousness is the Atman, the real nature of the human being. So get these words clear. Brahman means cosmic consciousness. Atman is, you can say, the individualized or localized consciousness, which is your real nature. A reflection of the same thing in you. So this is your real nature, according to the Upanishads. You are the Atman, manifesting through this body and mind. You are not the body and mind. See, this is a huge paradigm shift in thinking, isn't it? Because everything about your thought process has to do with your identity. Are you getting this point? Your sense of yourself determines the importance you give to things in your life, to your thoughts, and where you are attached, where your sense of identity lies. There you will emphasize, there you will understand better, isn't it? So this is actually penetration into that I sense itself, uncovering the crux of human identity. So it is a process of vichar. Vichar means inquiry, a kind of penetration into the core of your existence. It is not a belief system, it is not a religion, it is not a faith or anything of that sort. It's a simple, logical, rational inquiry. And the discovery is, again, impersonal, of the nature of consciousness. Now, there's a huge difference between these words, consciousness, which we use in the Indian paradigm, psychological paradigm, and the way we use it in the Western paradigm. Their thoughts, emotions, whatever is happening in your mind is called consciousness. It's a blanket term for everything happening in your mind. But in the Indian context, this Indic perspective, consciousness has nothing to do with mind. Mind is illumined by consciousness standing behind it, and it starts thinking. So thoughts and emotions are not to be called consciousness. Consciousness is the Atman, the very essence of your conscious experience. Because it is conscious by itself, it is called consciousness. Your existence, Sat, its nature is it is conscious by itself. Nothing else is conscious by itself. See, this point also we will explore as we proceed. What are they exactly trying to say by this? That is why it is pure consciousness, it is the Atman, And your mind only functions because it reflects that light. Light is a wonderful metaphor for consciousness. It reflects that and it becomes aware. In that awareness, you start thinking, you start feeling, willing, the mind starts functioning. And that thought process has a tendency to identify with things. So you get a sense of self-identity, a concept of yourself as it were, and you make sense of the outer world. You start identifying objects with name and form and their relevance to you. According to them, you classify them in your mind. So thought process will start working like that, based on your sense of your identity. But the crux of that identity is not in the mind. The source of that identity is not in the mind. It is in the Atman. This is what the Upanishads are going to tell you. That is why this is the most important piece of literature. It is not to do with your mental capacities and capabilities. It is not to do with your creative thinking, your memory. No. It is to do with the source of your mind, the source of your thought process. And you can reach it through a process of inquiry. That's the beauty of the Upanishad. If you make a penetrating inquiry into this, you will reach it. So that is the spirit of the Upanishad. And that's why you should distinguish this path from the other paths which we popularly, on an everyday basis, which we are applying in our life. Like, for example, the pujas we do, the yogasanas we do, the meditations we practice. All of them are essentially this process of the Upanishad. It, as you see, over the ages, many elements got added into it. The Yoga Sutras came in the 2nd century BC, so a large part of yoga got integrated with this inquiry process. Then you had the Bhakti movement. So a lot of, with this as the essence, a lot of things got added on. And today we are practicing them like that. See, we don't have a concept of Vedic inquiry, but we very well have a concept of temple worship, isn't it? The common person. This is only because of this. But temples were never there in the Vedic age. Much, much later, in the post-Vedic age, the gods, Brahman condensed into the gods, as it were. Then the Sagun aspect of Brahman, all this came up. And then you had temples. And later on, temple worship started. So you see, you must understand the whole, right from the Vedic age to the Bhakti movement, how things developed, the religious, spiritual scenario, how did it develop? Why is India called a country where all these things flourished? Is only because we invested our best minds for the longest periods in human history in this research. Okay, actually speaking, in Vedic India and even in the post-Vedic age till almost the 15th century, all our Pandit class and in fact, one class was set aside for research into this and committed to this kind of lifestyle and pursuing this knowledge, spiritual knowledge. That is why this tradition was retained. So this is a very unique paradigm. No country has such a history, actually, such a strange history where the emphasis was given on spiritual knowledge. So this is our spiritual heritage. And today in our homes, we don't see things this way. Hindus especially, are not used to giving these ideas and values to the future generations. That is why things are going down, isn't it? Today's youngsters don't have much idea about all this at all. They don't know the source of what they are doing and what's the purpose of doing that. So as a responsibility, you should see that something of this comes into your homes. What we are going to study in this retreat, as part of this retreat, some form of that should come into your homes, should come into your contacts, so that you keep this tradition alive. Otherwise, the essence will be lost and we will be just juggling with the peripherals. So that is why we focus mainly on the Upanishad and not on other things. You may ask me for other things, like some people had asked me once, we should have retreats on bhakti, on Yoga Sutras. Okay, that's fine. For some time we can discuss on that. But the Vedic tradition and especially the Upanishadic tradition, that is the source of everything. And you must hold on to that. If you lose that, nothing else will have meaning. Please understand this. And if you don't sort of discover this for yourself, you lose one of the most profound things about human life. Because as I told you, if you don't know your own eye sense, what is it about? What is the point in knowing other things? So that is why Upanishad is the thing to study, especially in a setup like this, when you are in the lap of the Himalayas and you have enough time here. When you don't have routines, don't waste a minute. Either study or meditate, dive deep into this, what we are going to discuss. But don't waste 1 minute here, I'm telling you. Because the place is very vibrant. We are in the lap of the Himalayas. And the rishis actually discovered these truths here. And they practiced all this for long periods of time, over centuries here. So it's in the air. So try to get the most out of the 7 days that you have here. Let's go into the Shanti Mantras first. Why the name Mandukya Upanishad? Because a rishi called Manduka gave us these mantras. See, each of the Upanishadic, whatever you say, sentences are called mantras. They are not called sentences or anything else, shlokas, or they are mantras. Why? Mananat trayate iti mantra. That's the definition of a mantra, which means just by contemplating on it, it will liberate you. Only the Vedic mantras, Vedic observations are called mantras. And no other piece of literature you can say is a mantra. Not the Yoga Sutras, not the Bhakti Sutras, not the Nyaya Sutras. Only Upanishads are the mantras. Because that is the power of the Upanishad. They are realized understanding of the Vedic rishis. So you contemplate on that and you will realize it. That is why it's a mantra. Are you getting the point? Mananat trayate iti mantra. That which liberates you just by thinking of it is a mantra. So they are very powerful observations, direct realizations of the Vedic rishis. That is the Upanishad. Who's a rishi? Seer. How different is he from the ordinary mind? Exactly. That's the definition of the rishi. He sees things as they are and not colored by the thought process, the emotions there, the bias there, the prejudices of your mind, your attitude, not colored by anything of that. Because the mind has been cleared completely. So he sees things as they are. That is why they understood the existential truths about human existence. Existential means not that which is not psychological. See, this demarcation, this difference is there only in Indian philosophical thinking. In the West, there's no such thing as existential and psychological. Psychological is existential. I told you the idea of the Atman was developed here alone, in this literature alone. You won't find it in this form elsewhere. You will find it in the writings of some mystics of other religions also, like Thomas Merton. Some mystics have arrived at this, but not everyone. So it is not part of Western psychology and philosophy, this kind of thinking. But here there's a clear distinction between existential and psychological. You generally live in the psychological world. Please see this. With your thoughts and emotions, they are the primary thing about you. isn't it? All our emotion is for our thinking, our identities, our attachments. This will not do for this study. The very nature of life is existential, not psychological. So you must learn to put down the mind. That is why yoga is the means to this knowledge. Yoga is chitta vritti nirodh, isn't it? See, this is the great understanding which Vivekananda gave us. That he gave us 4 yogas. They are the means to this knowledge. If you can't go directly to inquiry, learn to handle your mind properly first, your thought process properly. Put it down, check it, stall it, and you will come to this naturally. So yoga is the technology and Upanishad is the science of consciousness. Yoga is the technology of consciousness, the method you use, and Upanishad itself, Vedanta, is the science of consciousness. Upanishad means Vedanta. How it got the name Vedanta, you should know that also. See, when the Vedic rishis discovered a whole lot of these truths, they were not people who would bring out this literature. Of course, there were no books. It was a Shruti tradition. It was by word of mouth that the tradition was kept up. The knowledge was transmitted, which means a rishi would give it to his disciples. The disciples would retain one part of it had to be by hearted. They would retain one part of the literature, the Vedic, the Vedas in their memory and transmit it to their disciples. So this was the tradition which was kept up. So it's called the Shruti, that which is heard. Vedas means Shruti. And much later on, these Vedas were compiled. All these mantras were brought together, which were in the hands of so many families of rishis. Each family had the tradition of maintaining one portion. So then these were compiled together, and much later to this, they condensed into 6 philosophical systems. This is between 500 BC and 500 AD. 6 philosophical systems, what we call Shad Darshan. So the names of those 6 philosophical systems, you should just know it. Nyaya Vaisheshika, Sankhya Yoga, and Uttar Mimamsa and Purva Mimamsa. Uttar Mimamsa is called Vedanta because it was based on the Brahma Sutras, which were the logical support of the Upanishads. So Upanishads means Vedanta. Okay? Keep all these equations so that when I keep explaining the Upanishad, there should be no gaps in your understanding. What I'm trying to say exactly. The best way to understand this literature is you must do this along with meditative practice. So a form of guided meditation also we will discuss in the question answer session. Okay? Learn to still the mind. Stillness and awareness go together. In stillness, you will understand all these truths by yourself and not through this third person perspective. Then what is the purpose of this? To corroborate your understanding, to tally, to help you understand better. So this is how this literature was always used. It will help you inquire deeply into what you are searching for. But the search begins with you, not with a book, not with somebody's thoughts. That's why I told you first person research is Vedanta. We are making this clear distinction even in the academic work, because this form of understanding is not there anywhere, Didi. And it's never come into the university setup. So every single term has to be thought of and meditated upon and then put into the whatever course we are structuring, and then it is to be passed through UGC and then converted into actual literature for university students. So every term actually which we are using is a product of meditation. Otherwise, it's not possible to translate this level of knowledge into something which our students can practically use today. And to structure courses out of this is a real effort. But because this is so true, it is coming out. You see, this knowledge will not be lost in this way. It will come out in a big way. Once our youngsters start, the courses, the names of the courses, you will be amazed. We don't call it Vedanta courses, okay? We call it like the Science of Happiness you have already seen. The next course, the 5th course now in IIT will be the Science of Focus. Then we have this mind management and mind management techniques. These are the kinds of courses coming out of this literature. Self-inquiry and self-knowledge. So in these ways, this same knowledge is coming out in the absolutely modern idiom. So let's go straight into this Mandukya Upanishad. Look at the peace mantras there, Shanti Mantras. I don't have a clock or something here. Oh, okay. The Shanti mantra is Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashed Makshabhirya Jatraha Sthirai Rangai Stuštuvagam Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu. So all Upanishads start with specific Shanti mantras, peace chants. And we are supposed to chant those peace chants and then go into the Upanishad itself, because what is the purpose of a peace chant? It is actually a prayer and it calms your mind. Without this inner calmness, you can't actually make a process of inquiry actually work for you. Isn't it? If you're doing 10 things all at once, we do that, we have many tracks running in our head. Then you can't do this process of inquiry. So first is calmness. Bring peace to your mind. So the peace chant is there. It's a prayer also. Get into the mood of real Vedantic inquiry and meditation, and then we proceed. Right? So Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Deva. Om, O gods, may we hear auspicious words with the ears. Karnebhi, with the ears, may I hear what is auspicious. Bhadram Pashed Makshabhirya Jatraha, may I see what is auspicious and good. Sthirai Rangai Stuštuvagam Sastanobhihi, may my limbs be steady and firm. May I not be chanchal. May I not be restless. Calm down. That's the message. Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu. And may we enjoy a life which is beneficial to everyone and to the gods, to Brahman. May I live a mature, authentic life. May I live like that. So you see, everything is put into this mantra. A sattvic lifestyle of dedication, inner research, steadiness of limbs, and good exposures for your eyes and ears. You don't treat your mind like a waste paper basket, anything getting into you, and not like that. That's what many are doing, isn't it? See, you can erase very easily on your laptop, on your phone. You can't erase sanskars from your memory so easily. So take care. A spiritual aspirant lives carefully. That is the meaning. May I take in only what is auspicious. Like you see the food we eat, we take in that which is really good and nutritious, isn't it? We don't take unhealthy stuff. So why take, this is also food, what you take through your eyes, ears. So take in good food. If you have nutritious food, you will have good health. If you take in nutritious intake from outside, you will have good mind, because your thoughts are determined by your sense intake. That's why this was called ahar, you know. Ahar is not just what you eat. Aharati iti ahar. What you consume through all your senses is ahar. So you see the prayer is for that. Then swastina indro vriddha shravaha, swastina pusha vishvavedaha, swastina staksho arishtanemihi, swastino brihaspati dadhatu, om shanti shanti shanti. Here in the Shanti Mantra, you will find the names of so many gods. Then how come there are names of so many gods here? See, this is there in the Upanishadic literature. Although they believed the source of all this manifestation is only Brahman, Brahman comes to us in various ways. These gods, for example, they are aspects of Sagun Brahman, which means Brahman with attributes. It's the same ultimate reality coming to us in all these forms under all these names. This was the understanding. And these gods are gods because they are in touch with that ultimate. That is why they are gods. So they are not different from that impersonal reality. This was the understanding. So, swastina indro vriddha shrava. May Indra be auspicious to us. And he's called Vriddha Shrava. It actually means one who has heard much, one who is established in this knowledge. That is the meaning. Swastina Pusha Vishwa Vedaha. May he who is supremely rich in this knowledge, Pushan, may he, it's actually the God, the one who rules this earth, this planet. He is Pushan. May he be auspicious to us. Swastina Staksho Arishtanemihi. Arishtanemi is Garud. May he destroy all evil all around me. Anything that is evil around me, may he destroy it. And Swastino Brihaspati Dadatu. And may Brihaspati ensure our welfare. Brihaspati was the guru of the gods, isn't it? So it's a prayer that let only auspicious things be around us. May all the gods be auspicious to us. May we have the blessings of all the gods and may we proceed with this. So it's a powerful prayer, you see. The essence is put in the first two mantras. That how will I handle my body and mind? That how will I handle my mind? And what kind of a lifestyle I will adopt in order to make this inquiry. This is the prayer. Now I'll go straight into the Upanishad. See, this Upanishad is so profound, it has a huge commentary. You might have heard of it, Mandukya Karika. Okay, now since we have 1 week retreat, it's not possible to go into the Karika. It is huge, lots of verses, but you can do that for homework. Once you are back home, since you would have studied the Upanishads, you can always go into the Karika by yourself. Or some other time we can study it, but here we will take up the Upanishadic mantras. And of course, a lot of ideas about the Karika also will come into these discussions, undoubtedly. So now this Upanishad has 2 parts. There are 12 mantras only in this Upanishad, and the 2 parts, the 2 things which it covers are, one important thing is it's a meditation on Om. Omkar Upasana it is called. This is the first part of this Upanishad. How Om, which is the sound symbol of Brahman, takes us to the ultimate truth of Brahman. This discussion is there, and the practice is there, and what the U, Ma indicate, that is there, mention of that is there, and then how the Rishi relates it to our 3 states of everyday existence. What are the 3 states of which you experience every day? Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti. The waking state, the dream state and the deep sleep state. These are universal. All of us, every day we experience these states. Now they are going to go deep into these states, and who's the waker, dreamer, the nature of the waker, dreamer and deep sleeper, and then what do these states actually indicate? They are not interested in your dreams or whatever. They are interested in the dreamer, the nature of the dreamer, the nature of the waker, the nature of the deep sleeper. And through just this much data, they will draw enormous conclusions through a logical technique. When we come to that point, I will demonstrate that technique to you. It's called Anvaya Vyatireki. So they will go into that and show you that what is your real nature then. So this is called the Avastatravichar. This is the second part of this Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad. The first part is Omkar Upasana. The second part is Avastatravichar, which is most important Upanishadic technique, Vedantic technique for discovering the self. And you must not miss it here in this class. You must feel the reality of it. You see, that is the purpose of holding these classes. We are not going to just do an intellectual exercise. You must feel the reality of what they are saying and how stupid our mind is in not intuiting this reality by itself. We must at least understand this much, that they are talking about something which is available to me. But I keep missing it out because I'm wrongly identified with a whole lot of things and I can't stop my thought process. See, the whole problem is we think we are our thoughts. And I can't stop my thoughts. In fact, this is such a wrong conclusion drawn by a whole lot of philosophers. In Western philosophy, this is taken for granted. You can't stop the mind. Who said you can't stop the mind? You try it right here. Okay, this is no theory. In this ambience, during your meditation hours, just see if you can objectify your thought process or not. Can you distance yourself from your thoughts? Can you see them for what they are? And can you periodically still the mind, stall the thought process? See if you can do this. If you can do this, this will make tremendous sense. And if you already have a conclusion that you can't do it, this will mean nothing. So you must experientially understand the Upanishad. Evening class will be only question answers based on this. And the meditation technique which they are recommending. Only this much we will do. But I'm telling you, here you must feel the glory of stillness. You can do it here. And how awareness and stillness are connected. And how stupid our usual restlessness is. This you must understand for yourself. This excitability mode is not happiness. You will naturally arrive at this conclusion if you catch this much in the first person. This is an insane idea given to our youngsters. The more excited you are, the more happy you will be. Very sorry. The very nature of happiness is, it is a function of your awareness. The more that comes into full bloom, the more happy you will be, whether there is any object in your life, any person in your life or not. So you will understand this by yourself if you just do what I'm telling you. In your meditation hours, get a taste for stillness, the power of stillness. It's right here. Brahman is right here, just now. Our mind is too busy with something else. This is the whole problem. Isn't this true? Tell me, is your awareness ever apart from you? Your thoughts can be apart from you. Your emotions, your will, all this you can objectify. They can be apart from you. Your awareness, can it be apart from you? In awareness, you are thinking. In awareness, you are emoting. Your awareness can never be apart from you. So stillness is your real nature. So then shouldn't you make it your default state? Or default should be super restless and occasional stillness? No. Stillness should be your default state. Then you know your thought process at any given time will be perfectly clear. Your decision making, your memory, everything will improve. your concentration, naturally, isn't it? Because you have touched the source. But if you assume, no, only the thoughts are real and I can't stop them, that is a huge mistake. See, we have made certain fundamental mistakes in our understanding. First mistake is Descartes' that cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. So if I don't think, I am not. This is the most fundamental mistake in Western philosophy. But you won't understand it without the power of yoga. Because yoga developed here, for us it is natural to understand this mistake. But there it is an assumption. It's something they have digested for centuries. They believe in it. And Western philosophy is built on that. The Cartesian dualism is coming because of that. So awareness has no place. It's all mind, body. The duality is there. So it's a huge paradigm shift in thinking. That is why today there's a huge portion of the thinking population in the West which does not readily subscribe to this because they have never thought of it or it's not part of their experience as yet. Consciously you should experience these realities by stopping the thought process. Then you will understand Upanishad is the reality about life. And what we are doing is really very strange. Our thought process is highly conditioned, please see this, with elements from all sorts of things, and that is why when the thought process is not clear, how can you make a Vedantic inquiry? Then the Upanishads appear abstruse and even outdated and all this, because you are not able to do it. It is most practical, most relevant and supremely scientific if you can do it in the first person. So you see, fundamental requirement is this: unconditioned mind and absolutely calm, clear mind, capable of inquiry. This is you see now whoever traditionally went for a Vedantic study, there are many gurukuls where this is taken up in a very traditional way. There, the fourfold qualification of Vedanta is insisted upon initially. Here we don't do all that because we are taking it up as a study, but of course we will be practicing it. But the fourfold qualification for Vedanta is, does any one of you know? Of course, Indudi will be knowing all this. Yeah, that Vivek, Vairagya, Shat Sampati, Mumuksutwam. Without this qualification, you can't enter this. This is the standard way of entering Vedanta. There must be discrimination. Discrimination not in the Western sense. It is discretion or philosophical discrimination. You know what is real, you know what is assumed, what is unreal. This sharp distinction you have. And Vairagya means you are capable of giving up what is not true, what is not permanent. You can distance it from your mind. Shat Sampati is a group of 6 qualities: Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha and Samadhan. Shama is calmness of the senses. Dama is control of the mind. Uparati, turning away from what is unreal. This strong, means detached attitude of mind. Uparati, Titiksha is great forbearance, ability to stick to what you have taken up. Uparati, then Shraddha is deep faith in this literature. Faith in the sense that it is doable for me, not a blind kind of faith, that I can do it. This idea. And Samadhan is ability to focus. It's not contentment here. It is the ability to stick to that. Focus on that deeply. So this 6-fold qualification is compulsory, and finally is Mumuksutwam, which means you are extremely desirous of a completely unconditioned state of mind. Liberation is always of the mind, not of the soul. Soul is always liberated. Mind is what is bound, isn't it? So Mumuksutwam means you seek the liberation of the mind. A completely clear, unconditioned state of mind you hanker for. That is Mumuksutwam. So if you have these prerequisites, then Vedanta. This is the traditional format, what I'm telling you. So something of this we must possess. In fact, you possess it, others, why would you come here at all? Isn't it? This will help you penetrate into this study and practice the technique. Otherwise, Avastatravichar is an intellectual exercise, that is all. Doesn't get you to the... Avastatravichar alone is enough, I'm telling you. In Uttarakhand, the sadhus there, they say this, Mandukya Ekameva Alam, Mumukshunam Muktaye. It is also there in one of the Gitas, I think Rama Gita or something. When Hanumanji asked this question, this was the answer, that this one Upanishad alone is enough for the liberation of the human being, because it is so profound. But you must get it in the first person. Then it's done. You don't require anything, any other study for self-knowledge. So Avastatravichar is a very powerful technique, but we will go into it. See, today, we will have 6 morning classes. So I think second I will do this Omkar Upasana. Then from 3rd onwards to 6, we will do only Avastatravichar, bit by bit, so that you get a complete grasp over what they are saying. The whole purpose is to take you to the knowledge of the self. So clear your mind that just the process of inquiry is able to usher you into the state of pure awareness. So then you will yourself know what consciousness means. It won't have to be told. Pure awareness is conscious by itself. It's the only thing which is conscious by itself. That's why it's called consciousness. Just now our awareness is of what kind? It's all mixed up with the thought process, with your memories, with all kinds of mentation and emotion and ideation and all sorts of things. It's not even clear, not to speak of empty. So this complicates the situation like anything. And through that filter, you are understanding the world. No wonder it's only a kind of bias or judgmental way you will understand things. That is not the purpose. Yes, enormous superimposition is taking place at every level. This idea also will come and we will discuss it. Superimposition means you are imposing something where it is not. It's a very deep concept in Vedanta, the way they study superimposition. It's called adhyas, which means now you must understand imposition to understand superimposition. Suppose I keep this on this book. I have imposed this on this book. But if I think this book is this and this is the book, that is superimposition. I am taking something to be what it is not, and taking something else to be also what it is not, mixing up the two. So according to Vedanta, we have mixed up reality and unreality. We have mixed up the true and the false in our own mind, because we are not clear in our minds. Mind is dense with all sorts of thoughts, emotions. This is the only problem I'm telling you. And the day you really feel like getting out of this, when we actually go for holidays and wherever, getaways, we call it getaways, isn't it? We are only trying to get out of our silly minds. We are only trying to do that because it's so full now of all sorts of things. We want to get out of it. In your homes, if your room gets too filled with objects, you want to get out of it into the guest room, isn't it? Something like that. So if you feel this, the sheer density of your mind due to reckless living, then you will try to clear it. You actually can't get out of the mind, even if you go on long getaways, but you can clear the mind of all this density. And that is the way then to go into the Upanishad. So these fundamentals have to be observed. Otherwise, it will not be a real study, A real study is always transforming. There is no actual teaching of the Upanishad. There is transmission of reality. There is no teaching. Isn't this true? How can you teach what is already there? You can just make a person aware of it. You can create pockets of awareness through the study in the mind. So Upanishad is like that. So preliminary qualifications are a must in our own, as much as we can, in our particular niche, in the way you can clear your mind. In your the time you will spend here in the retreat center, keep your mind away from newspapers or news channels a bit, let it go. Because, too much of thinking will only hamper this process. Occasionally you saw something or you try to get some information, but not all the time, not constant exposure to these things, because lead a concentrated life here and use every minute. Here it is there in the air, I told you. If you can catch it, it's such a huge advantage. So let's focus on the method. We will go into the first mantra of the Upanishad. See, this is also a method. Don't think Avastatravichar is the method and Omkar Upasana is just the introduction. No. Omkar Upasana itself is a method. And Avastatravichar is the second method of this Upanishad. Okay, so let's pay attention to the first method first. Om iti etad aksharam idam sarvam tasya upakhyanam bhutam bhavad bhavishyad iti sarvam omkara eva yat chanyat trikalaatitam tad api omkara eva. This letter, that is Om, is all there is. Of this, a clear exposition is started with. All that is past, present or future is verily Om. And whatever is beyond the three periods of time is also verily Om. See, now at first glance you can clearly see it is the experience of the Rishi. He is just saying something which he has known, he has realized. Knowledge means realization in the Vedantic sense. Don't think knowledge is objective knowledge here. It is a realization. It's an intuitive understanding of something very deep. What is the difference between intuition and deliberation? Intuition is that which is born without deliberation. You just know. No, intuition can come out of deliberation, but the final point of intuition is where there is no thought process. You just know. So you see here, you can see clearly, he is just saying, as a matter of fact, Om is all that there is. It is what was in the past, what is in the present, what will be in the future. See, it is a statement of fact he is just uttering, isn't it? He's not saying, I think Om is the final reality, or let us discuss if Om is the final. He's not saying like that. It's like a Mahavakya. The letter Om is all that there is. It is the past, it is the present, it is the future. And whatever is beyond the three periods of time is also verily Om. See, how many of you have done Omkar Upasana? She does all kinds of meditation. Do you do Omkar Upasana? Huh? Have you tried for a long time?
3, 4 days, 7 days.
And anybody else you have done, no? Anyone else? You have done, Jyoti? Very good. Chanting of Om for a long time. If you do it, you will understand really Om has such power. It will still your mind automatically. Because it is the sound symbol of the ultimate. Just uttering the symbol, you will see the mind become still. Long drawn out Om. See, in places like this is what you should do. Long drawn out Om. Today evening we'll practice it in the question answer session. Just do it and you will see the mind comes to a level of stillness. You won't experience it with the thought process. Om has that power. So the observation here is the Rishi is saying, Om is verily the past, present and future. See, where are past, present and future? They are in your mind. Is there anything called time beyond your mind, apart from your thought process? There isn't. Recently, somebody was asking me about the theory of relativity and this Vedanta. So I told them that, you see, your mind keeps record of time. When the mind is not there, or when the thought process is not there, let's put it like that, there is no time for you. When you leave the body, you can't say, well, to take another body, did it take me 10 minutes or 10 years or 10 centuries? Because time is not there. It won't matter. Time is the record kept by your mind. When mind is shut down, even you pause it and see here in the shrine room. Pause the mind, the thought process. You will go beyond time. You don't know whether you sat for 10 minutes or 45 minutes. Usually you would have sat for a long time, but it appears like I sat only for a short time. You just go beyond time. So time is when mind is. And when you go beyond mind, there's no time. So also space, so also causation. These are parameters through which your mind works. They are not the ultimate parameters. They are not the nature of existential reality. So your time machines and whatever relativity physics is trying to do, we have not understood this fundamental aspect of time. Time is to do with your mind. It is some kind of a record of events maintained by your mind, which gives you a sense of time. Even your body has it. After 1 hour of class, you want to drink some water, maybe you want to go to the bathroom. Your body keeps time, your mind keeps time, but nothing else keeps time in you. Your soul has no time. So then don't try to measure atindriya vastu with time. That's a mistake. So you must understand all this from these mantras. Time is up. It's 11:20. So we'll stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue.